Chapter 1: Silvia's Lesbian Awakening. My name is Silvia Thornton, and I recently had a wonderful experience that changed my life forever. 2 days ago, I made love to another woman for the first time, and I know this may seem a bit too early to say, but I now consider myself a lesbian. Until 2 days ago, I had no idea that having sex with another woman would be so sensual and romantic and so beautiful. When I kissed her soft lips, the feeling was indescribably erotic, and the sweet taste of her pretty mouth sent orgasmic tingles through my whole body. The softness and curves of her body were simply amazing. And I wondered why I hadn't tried this years ago. The woman I made love to is my 25-year-old student named Paula, whom I've been teaching cello to for the past 6 weeks. I'm a freelance cello teacher, and I have about 24 students who come to my house each week for lessons. But more about that later. Every year, I have a checkup to make sure I don't have any serious health problems. My previous doctor had retired since my last appointment, so I started searching online for a new doctor. I don't feel very comfortable having my private parts examined by a male doctor, so I was looking for a female doctor. As I scrolled down the page, I didn't see anything that caught my eye on the first 2 results pages. But after I clicked on the 3rd page, I noticed a very interesting website title. It was called Lesbian Clinic, which I thought was either a joke or something to do with porn, perhaps. Anyway, curiosity got the better of me, so I clicked on the link, and a very professional-looking website popped up. After reading some of the information, it seemed like a very legitimate facility. I still thought it was a bit weird though. I mean, come on, a clinic just for lesbians? The next day, I phoned the clinic and asked them about their services. The young woman on the phone sounded nice, and when I found out that all their doctors are female, I decided to go ahead and make an appointment. But before I could make an appointment, the receptionist told me that I would have to answer some personal questions, as the clinic had some very strict regulations concerning the type of patients that they allow there. She first asked if I was a biological female, which I told her that I was. Then she asked me if I am a lesbian, to which I told her that I had only become a lesbian about 2 weeks ago. She also asked me if I had anything to do with men sexually in the last 6 months, to which I replied, definitely not. She said, that's great, then went ahead and set the appointment for 9 o'clock on Tuesday, the 30th of September, which was almost 3 weeks in advance. When I let out a sigh due to the appointment being so far in advance, she apologized and told me that the 30th was the earliest they could get me in, and that they were very busy most of the time. She told me that I would be seeing Dr. Natalia Solaviva, and asked me to arrive 20 minutes early to fill out the paperwork. She also said that the appointment will take a couple of hours, and to make sure I schedule enough time for it. Then, just as I was about to hang up, she said, oh wait, there's one last thing. You'll need to bring an extra pair of panties for your visit. I said, okay, and hung up the phone. Then all these crazy thoughts ran through my head as I wondered why I would need an extra pair of panties. The day before my appointment, I decided to check this clinic out to make sure it actually existed and was not some sleazy joint in a slum area or something. However, when I arrived at the address I got from the website, I could see that it was located in a very upscale complex in what looked to be a very affluent neighborhood. There were also many other medical facilities nearby. On the front of the clinic, there was a huge sign that said Lesbian Clinic. I parked my car and walked up to the front door, and just as I was about to enter, the door swung open, and a very rough-looking woman came out cussing at the clinic staff. She looked at me and said, "Honey, I hope you can prove that you're a real lesbian, because they will refuse service if they even suspect that you fucked a guy in the last 6 months." I thought to myself, I should be okay because I haven't had sex with a man for at least the past year. I entered the building and was greeted by a lovely receptionist who asked me if I had an appointment. I told her my appointment was for tomorrow and I just wanted to familiarize myself with the location and confirm my appointment in person. She asked my name and date of birth, and then after looking me up on the computer, she told me that the appointment is confirmed for tomorrow at 9 a.m. She also reminded me to come in about 20 minutes early and not to forget to bring an extra pair of panties. Then I leaned in and whispered to her and asked, "Do you know why I need to bring an extra pair of panties with me?" She said, "I can't really say, but I can assure you it's nothing to worry about." I also asked her if this clinic is really only for lesbians. And she said, "Yes, we only accept true lesbians here. Not only that, but you have to be a lesbian to even work here." So all the doctors, nurses, and clerical staff, including myself, are all lesbians. I looked at her with a shocked look on my face and said, "Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for the info." She said, "You're very welcome. Please feel free to have a look around the lobby before you leave." I told her I would see her tomorrow, and to which she responded with a cute smile as her eyes wandered down to my tits and said, "I definitely hope so." I thought to myself, yep, she's a lesbian. I looked around the waiting room and I could see that there were about a dozen women waiting to be called. Some of them appeared to be couples, and one couple in particular caught my eye, not only because they were stunningly gorgeous, but because they were kissing each other quite passionately. Then I noticed that all the wall decorations were giant prints of women in intimate situations with other women. I could feel the heat rising between my legs as I admired the pictures. On one side of the room, there was a picture of two women kissing passionately, and next to it was a picture of two women holding hands as they walked through a grassy field. Then, on the opposite wall, there was a picture of two beautiful brides, both dressed in gorgeous white wedding gowns, holding hands as they walked down the aisle. And next to it was a picture of two gorgeous women lying in bed, looking into each other's eyes as if they had just woken up in the morning. Just looking at the pictures and watching the lesbian couple kissing sent tingles up my spine and gave me goosebumps all over my body. I was so intrigued, and I couldn't wait to see what was in store for me tomorrow. I gave the receptionist a wave before walking out the door and heading back to the parking lot. When I got back to my car, I spread my legs and ran my hand up my skirt and down the front of my panties and started fingering myself, all while thinking how pretty that receptionist was, and also that gorgeous lesbian couple who were kissing each other. Then suddenly, I had to stop myself when a large truck parked right beside me. Because the truck was so much higher than my car, the driver would have a perfect view of my whole body. I immediately stopped what I was doing and drove home. But I was still so horny thinking about what I saw today at that lesbian clinic and how I will be so excited to attend my appointment tomorrow. Now, about my first lesbian experience with my student Paula. She had been coming to my house for the last 6 weeks for cello lessons. and we had become very good friends during that time. Paula is a very attractive young woman. She has a very well-proportioned body with perfect breasts, a very slim waist, and an ass to die for. Her dirty blonde hair is very long and straight and goes all the way down to her ass. It's so vibrant, especially when it catches the light in a certain way. Her perfectly tanned legs are long and shapely, and the texture is so smooth that they actually shine. Paula always presents herself with perfect makeup and very stylish clothes. When she smiles, her rosy cheeks produce these cute dimples on each side of her mouth. It's really the cutest thing to see. Up until now, I had never been with a woman before, but I had thought about it often, and on many occasions, I found myself stealing glances at Paula's gorgeous legs. It was 6 in the afternoon when Paula arrived for her lesson, and as usual, we chatted for a while and enjoyed some refreshments that I had prepared earlier. Paula was my last student for the day, so we could spend some extra time chatting and enjoying each other's company. During the cello lesson, Paula was having some trouble on a certain classical piece that she needed to learn for an upcoming recital. She just couldn't seem to get her fingers moving where they needed to go. So I walked around and stood behind her so I could reach over and show her a different finger pattern that would make it easier for her. As I leaned over the top of her, I placed my left arm over her shoulder so that I could access the neck of the cello, and I put my right hand on her right shoulder to support myself. I leaned down and my face was right next to the right side of her head. I was so close that I could smell her lovely scent, and as I looked to my left, I could see how soft and elegant her neck was. And I had to resist the urge to turn my head and plant a soft kiss on her pretty earlobe. Then, as I focused on the task at hand, I showed her a different finger pattern to try out. She picked it up right away and was now playing the piece perfectly. She was so excited that she was able to play the piece and so grateful for my expertise that she put the cello on its stand, stood up, and hugged me. Her body felt so nice pressed up against mine, and I didn't want to let her go. I think she felt the same way too, as she kept holding me longer than a normal hug would last. Then, after the hug finally ended, we stood there holding each other's hands, staring into each other's eyes like we were frozen in time. Then Paula put her right hand up and cupped the left side of my face. I tilted my head to the left to squeeze her hand between my head and shoulder to show her that I enjoyed the feel of her soft hand touching me. Then I heard Paula say in the softest voice, "You are so beautiful, Silvia." I didn't know how to respond, so I just smiled into her pretty eyes. Then our faces were magically drawn to each other. I instinctively put my right hand around the back of Paula's neck, combing my fingers into her silky, smooth blonde hair, and drew her into me. We tilted our heads and closed our eyes as our lips met for the first time. It was a soft touch of slightly parted lips at first, but after a few seconds, our lips parted wide as our mouths locked together in a passionate French kiss.